Hello everybody, my name is Aceface. Today we're going to be doing some Elful missions in a Raven. Previously I tried Raven to do Elful missions. It's a very popular ship to do missions in. It's because it's pretty easy to use, very easy actually. When you're using cruise missiles you can just sit a long range and shoot, rain hell on the enemies. And it's also a pretty low skill requirement ship because it's a Tech 1 battleship, and because it's a Tech 1 battleship it's also a more cheaper battleship as well. So previously what I did was I had an MWD Raven and I went around with cruise missiles. This time what I did was I did a simple tweak to the fitting. It is that I removed one of the Multispectrum shield hardeners and put a large micro jump drive. I'm not sure if this is a good idea, but I think that this will greatly improve our mobility, allowing us to be at a safer distance even quicker. So even though we've got less tank than before, I think that being able to be in a safe position a lot quicker in a way acts as a sort of tank, because we have to then face less enemies because we're going to be at long range quicker. I'll dock up here. My go-to mission testing system is the Oyster system, because there's one right next to Jita, just two jumps out of Jita. You've got this station here, L4 missions that only require some Galente faction standing. And this is 0.8 system. It's not the best system to do missions in, but it's not the worst as well. You got 0.9 and 1.0 that are worse. Okay, let's check if there's anything in the cargo hold that I need to unload. Oh yeah, we needed some Vespa II as well. Those could be actually very good to use because Vespa IIs will provide some extra fire support in the case of getting little frigates orbiting us. So we're going to buy those real quick. Alright, so we've got the drones here in an interceptor. I had to fly all the way from Oyster to Jita in a Corvette, and Corvettes take an exceptionally long time to travel just because of them having really slow warp speed. Their line time is not the slowest, but it's still not the fastest either. They've got really slow warp speeds. So I'm just cruising back in an interceptor with the drones in bay. I'm a bit worried though that these are going to get destroyed because we've not got any bonuses to these medium and light drones. So the second these guys take damage from the enemies, they're going to go pop. But it should be alright because it's not like we're in the Abyss where there's a lot of drone aggro. Here, in missions, there's pretty minimal drone aggro. Only occasionally you'll find some like elite frigates that like to, hit your drones pretty hard. But it's not going to be very. As long as we keep an eye on our drones, it should be alright. There are certain rooms, I think Angel Extravaganza mission. With the Angel Extravaganza mission, it can sometimes have mass Dramiels, and they can hit your drones very hard. I have lost some drones to them even when I was paying a lot of attention to my drones. I believe that was a mission. There's at least one mission that I remember that I paid a lot of attention to my drones, and even then I still lost one, unfortunately, somehow. Okay, dock up here. Put the drones in Raven 4. So unfortunately you can't have interceptors in your frigate escape bay, otherwise it would be really nice because it's a very handy way to travel around the universe because they're so fast. So keeping them as a quick way to go on shopping runs is very handy, but you can't. So I like to keep a Dramiel usually in the frigate escape bay because it's almost like an interceptor but not classified as an interceptor. Okay, so right hand of Zazmataz. This is actually a blitzable mission, a very quick mission. You just go and warp to the mission, snipe two things, base and the boss, and that's it. And I think the Raven will be perfect at that because it's got so long range, so you're just going to be able to hit out straight away. So we're going to already load up with Cruise Fury. It should be alright. Let's check to see if the aggro is very intense here, because there are NPCs in this mission and it's not like there's nothing. There are quite a few, so if they all aggro at the same time, it could perhaps be a little bit intense, but it should be alright considering that we're at long range. I don't think they're going to hit too hard. Nothing really hits that hard when you're 100 kilometers away in an L4 mission. Okay, here we are. So Outpost Headquarters and Zor. Those two are the ones we need to take out. And we can already start lining out because we're going to do this so quickly. Then we just preload shoot the rockets. DPS and move these to maybe lights, and then these are the medium, and use target painters as well just to give that little extra application. Oh, we can't activate that module. Why can't we activate this module? As interference prevents modules type from being used on them. Okay, so it's always got some kind of E-War shield. It is like that sometimes with certain NPCs that they've got E-War shields. Because in the Angel D 6 out of 10, that boss, he's able to actually not be webified. You can't webify him at all. I remember using a Loki to try and face him, but it just didn't work. Just the web was not working. So I'm guessing that's what happened to Zor over there. There's nothing like that in the Abyss though, but the Abyss usually has a lot more challenging NPCs than you find in any mission. But you don't have any kind of anti-E-war capabilities of NPCs there. Okay, dock back up, and you look, we are pre-aligned, so we're just gonna go and dock up at the mission straight away. And this ankle's alright. We did take a bit of damage, but we could have also been further away. We're 50 kilometers. We could be at like 100 kilometers plus with this ship. Our lock range is what limits us, actually. It's not our cruise missile range, because we've got 167 kilometers with the Fury. Fury is the close range ammunition. It's the lock range, so it's 112 kilometers. We could perhaps equip a sensor booster or some kind of small module. Maybe there's... I don't think there's a utility heist that improves lock range. And with just a little extra lock range will enable us to hit out further. And probably that'll be a bit more useful when you're going with an MJD. We've got like this micro jump drive that allows us to go even further than we would with an MWD. Complete that. Anom occasion. We don't want to do any anom occasions in this. The Duo of Death. Okay, let's do this. In the system of Direri, almost like dairy. Set destination. And go to Forent. Forent is a system that I used to spend a lot of time in. Once upon a time, a couple of years ago, there used to be the Triglavian invasion, and they had these emerging conduits there a lot in the system of Forent. And then they also had these minor conduits here. Basically, you could think of it like these sites that sprouted around the system with Triglavian spawning in waves in varying difficulties. And often they would be pretty difficult because they were a bit random from time to time. The emerging conduits, they were pretty easy. These minor conduits, they're very difficult, even though they sound pretty easy, minor conduit, but they were very, very difficult. So I would face these, and it would actually go pretty well. I had a lot of ace, but I also did lose a couple of ships there. And at the time, it was a large portion of my net worth, because it was like fully factioned pirate battleships, rattlesnakes, maybe even a Vindicator I lost. That was a big punch to me. Like now I have accumulated a lot more wealth. It's not at all as die if I were to lose one of them, but back then it was a big thing. So I remember having lots of stressful situations doing these things. But I also have a lot of memories of doing pretty fun stuff here, because it was just, you had a bunch of people competing over the sides, and you had a bit of social interaction going on there, where you were like trying to or not really social interaction, more like anti-social interaction, because everyone was competing over the loot. But it was a pretty fun. I remember like having these Leshak bosses spawning in, these Zoria's Leshak, I believe it was, Zoria's Vedmak, and they could drop faction modules, the Triglavian faction modules that are really valuable, and they would be heavily contested by other people warping in. That's what happened in this system once upon a time. And I think that they should have more regular types of missions that are more like, you could say, communal missions, where you have multiple people being able to participate in it, like sites that are available in the open overview, and then people competing over the wrecks. Because I like how in event sites you have to compete over the wreck, doing the most amount of damage to the boss to get the wreck. I wish there were things that are not just seasonal, but like all the time, that involved a bit of competition in a PvE sense there. Because I like that feeling of competition, being able to just bring the biggest and baddest ship you can do to as much DPS as possible in the shortest amount of time. Then there's also like a compromise you have to think about. You don't want to bring too expensive stuff, the risk of ganks. If you do get ganked, it's not going to be at all worth your time. If you get a few extra wrecks, one. Okay. So I think it'd be cool if we had some like missions that were like sort of going on all the time, and you could just do them, and then in the end they spawn the boss, and then that boss has some good loot that you could potentially get if you were to win the competition. And it would probably only spawn in more populated areas of space, so that they couldn't be as easily found without other people being there, so that the loot they drop isn't completely devalued. I just like the idea of competing. Alright, so we've got some battleships here. I don't think it's too difficult, this mission. It's just two battleships that you have to take down, these Duo of Death, a Duo of Special Operation Serpentis, it seems like. Okay, they're 70 kilometers away, so we should be able to keep a decent range to avoid damage. Spider drones, these can be taken out with our medium drones. Okay, see if that's possible. In certain missions, it feels like the MJD and MWD are completely useless. Like here, I'm not using both these two. So in a way, We sacrifice a lot with going high mobility because certain missions that don't involve at all any mobility, we lose a lot of capabilities in those kinds of missions. So even though in some missions we'll do them a bit faster, in some missions they'll also go a bit slower as well, just because of us having to sacrifice other slots. Like we could instead, for example, instead of this MWD MJD here, have more capacitor modules, remove a capacitor module, then from our low slots add more DPS modules, and we'll be able to get through the mission a bit quicker. The Vespa IIs are chipping down that spider drone. It's a bit difficult to hit them because they're so tiny, but they're powerful, these Vespas. Great, okay, we could actually probably use the target painters in this guy, because the battleship should get full application from our Fury missiles. Target painter should help our Vespas hit a bit better. And speaking of hitting better, we're not getting that at all. Vespa II misses completely. Okay, let's shoot them with our missiles as well. Retrieve special cargo from the cargo container. Oh, okay, that's the special cargo, let's get that. Just have to destroy that spider drone real quick. Call drones. And we can use the MJD to get a little bit closer. This is already 60 kilometers away. This Raven is pretty fast. It's actually got some pretty high mobility if you just put a basic MWD on it. It can go 1k a second actually, without implants. And we can maybe use these Vespas to help the destruction of these tower sentries over here. In these kind of situations, it would be nice to have a bit more tank, because I can feel it, the lack of that second multi-spectrum. I feel very flimsy when I'm here up close, even though they're just a few sentry towers. It doesn't feel as comfortable as with 2. Here's the cargo container, I believe. We've got a hefty amount of DPS now, 100 DPS. In Tech on battleship, they can hit very far. Proper distance is able to be covered with this. Okay, recall drones. And a line to forwards. In these missions we weren't able to demonstrate the MJD to its maximum potential, but we were able to see here that we did save a bit of time, because that cargo container was 60 kilometers away, and we jumped 100 kilometers with the MJD. We were able to jump 100 kilometers, then like past it, and then we were able to be just to save 20 kilometers straight away, just with the click of a button. So it does save time. I'm just not sure if I'm comfortable with the tank, because this was like a very, very basic room we had left. Like we only had a few sentry towers, and even then it did feel like the tank was getting a sketchy, like we were losing quite a bit of tank, and I wasn't shield boosting all the time, but I felt like how little buffer we have. How much buffer do we have? 43k. So that's some cruisers can have that kind of buffer. So I feel very flimsy, I must say. I'm not sure if I would keep like this. What do you guys say? Would you keep the MJD, or would you have the dual multi-spectrums, or would you do something completely different? I'm curious what you would do. Because in one way you are very safe with an MJD. As soon as stuff doesn't go the way you want it to be, you just click it and go out and get out of there. But still, there is a downside, is that if you go in, or like some MJD too close, you've got it on cooldown, then you can't easily get out. Then you're just left to warping out. So I'm not sure. I think it depends a lot on the mission type, because some missions probably will benefit a lot from the MJD. Others probably not so much. And talk about the mission and deliver the special delivery to Moga Malloys. This box may contain personal items or commodities intended only for the delivery's recipient. Wonder what kind of special delivery this is. Okay, let's hand in that mission. Great. So the Raven chews away at these L4 missions, no problem really. As soon as you feel like it sounds comfortable, you just pull range. You've got like basically unlimited range with this ship, so you never have to worry about being too far away. You're always able to do damage, and you're always able to do damage decently when you've got target painters and cruise missiles, because these target painters also have a really large range. So you never have to worry about being outside your optimal range. You just have to keep a far enough range that you're at a comfortable location. And sometimes that can be easier, sometimes that can be harder to achieve, because if you've got something that says like an MJD like we've got now, it can be a bit easier to pull range. Otherwise, the fit we've got here is very good at keeping a good range. and doing damage very fast. The only thing I'm just concerned about is that the tank could be perhaps a little bit on the low end, and I think it would feel a lot more comfortable if I had a greater tank. We'll see. If you've got any suggestions, let me know in the comments down below. I'm curious to know. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. That's enough for now. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys later.